So, thank you, Raghunath Prabhu. So, just for those of you who have not met him, I know that many of you listen to the wisdom of the sages. Some of you may not, but it's a podcast that's run by my dear friend, very dear to my heart, Raghunath Prabhu, Raghunath Ray Cappo, commonly known in the world scene of the music stage. He's an internationally recognized punk rock. Is that right?
They call it punk hardcore straight edge.
Hardcore straight edge uh, star. He travels the world. He travels in Europe, and he travels all over North America, inspiring the youth. And the band is called The Youth of Today, inspiring the youth in doing good stuff in life. And he's more commonly known uh, in the bhakti circles around the world for inspiring over 10,000 listeners every single day on his podcast. They study the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is an ancient wisdom text or the yoga text, and they do it every single morning. He just got off that call to hop onto this call because, I'm always trying to get him to share some of his wisdom and knowledge with us. So thank you, Raghunath Prabhu. And today's topic, we thought it would be gratitude. And it's because it was day before yesterday, one of my students came to me really upset that someone was ungrateful. And he was just really livid. He says, this person is just the most ungrateful person in my life. And I can't believe that they're such ungrateful people. I don't even understand why I'm doing anything for them. And he was, very upset. And I have seen you personally and hung out with you and spent time with you. I have seen that you live this life of deep gratitude. And whenever I think of you, I just think of how grateful you are for everything that you have and everyone that you have in your life and everything that you do in life. So, yeah, that's the topic. So please tell us more about your personal experience and practice of gratitude and anything you want to share, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Veda. And first of all, I'm going to be a little grateful to have you in my life. I've known about Veda Sara for a long time, but it wasn't until last year, a couple of years ago, that I got to meet you in person. And you're such a bright light, and you give so much light to so many people that to have you in my life and call you a friend. And if you need anything from me, so when you asked me to give class today, I was like, oh, I would be honored. But just because I want to serve him, when you find great souls out there, you want to figure how can I render service to great souls. So I always want to be part of whatever you do, and I'm looking forward to coming to Atlanta. But this is a really important topic, gratitude. It seems like there's two ways to look at the world, which is one, the world owes me. I've done so much for the world. And how dare they, them, circumstance, my life work against my desires? Don't they understand what I do, how much I do? It's a real victim mentality. I have so much. I feel so blessed. People have loved me. If you're on a spiritual path, you can't help but lean in towards gratitude. I'm just releasing in spring my memoir of my life is coming out, and it was such a therapeutic right for me to write. And I'm very excited to read yours because I know you're working on yours as well. But the more a spiritual person reflects back on their lives and all the tribulations and twists and turns that you go through in life, And, you don't have to be that old to realize that life hands you some really problematic situations, heartaches, betrayals, you know, great, incredible losses. You still with me?
Yes, yes, I'm totally with you. You know,
Okay, great. Go ahead, please.
as you speak about gratitude, Prabhu, I was just thinking how this gratitude is one of the qualities of Krishna. When they describe Krishna with 64 qualities, is the 17th quality of Krishna, which is that
He's
Krishna
great.
is grateful. And it's so funny that because I was just thinking, we are made in the image of God or image of
Right.
and that limited uh, gratitude that we feel is
Mm,
simply a reflection, sometime in the mode of passion, sometime in the mode of goodness, sometime in the mode of ignorance, this little reflection of gratitude, because there are some days I'm more grateful than others.
sure.
And there are times in a day that I'm more grateful, and there are people I'm more grateful than other people, and I'm just so selective sometimes. And I'm thinking, just thinking how it's such beautiful qualities that we have in this minute quantity, because it is actually a divine quality to be grateful.
um, yeah, and so I think when I was reflecting back on my life, I was thinking, wow, I needed that. That horrible situation. I was blessed. That wasn't a bad thing. It seemed like a bad thing at the time. That was a blessing I got. And if it wasn't for that period, if it wasn't for getting buried and getting soaked, that flower wouldn't have blossomed. So that was my real realization. Like, there's always been spiritual messengers. I was never abandoned. I was never forgotten. God was always with me, and I'm grateful. And really, what is our option in this world if you look at it? Am I going to be bitter, resentful, um, angry at the world, or am I going to feel, wow, I have so much, I needed this? And we look at life as, we're doing time in this world. We're doing this time, and we're learning lessons. Just like if a person gets sent to prison, let's suppose there was a working prison system, but the idea is we want to become appropriate citizens again. And we've done things that were not fit to be in human society, and we haven't learned any lessons. So while you're in prison, you can do one of two things. You can reform, and then when you reform, sometimes they let you out of prison early. Sometimes they give you a parole. Sometimes you get special privileges in the prison. And some people don't choose to learn lessons in prison. They still blame the warden. They're blaming the police officers for why they're in jail. But when they take responsibility, say, you know what? I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have murdered. I shouldn't have killed. I shouldn't have robbed. And they start to change their life. They start to change their thinking. They start to change their attitude. And in the same way, there's certain people who become better criminals in prison, and that's a problem. We don't want to become better criminals. We don't want to complicate our material existence and keep blaming external forces for all the mishaps in my life. Part of being a spiritualist is radical responsibility. And part of having radical responsibility is you're no longer bitter and angry. And these are things which plague the mind. We talk about yoga, about how to make the mind peaceful. The mind can't be peaceful if, in fact, we're suffering tremendously with anger. We need our mind to be crystal clear. We have to let go of resentment. We have to let go of hate. We have to let go of these things that plague the mind, that ties the mind in granny knots, and I carry it around with me, and it causes me pain, and um, I dive back into these. Why did this happen? And I want revenge, spite and how can I get back at them for how I've been wronged. Who needs that? Who needs that in life? I need a peaceful mind if I want any joy or any happiness in life, period.
Oh wow. Thank you, Prabhu. I was thinking as you were sharing, I was just thinking of many, many saints in the line of bhakti that we see. They really, really practiced this deep sense of gratitude in such a way that gratitude personified, because Krishna, it explains in the Bhagavatam, in the Nectar of Devotion, this beautiful text, Krishna is filled with gratitude in its pure spiritual original form. And those that practice gratitude on a daily basis, moment to moment basis, then they actually have access to having a deep personal relationship with Krishna. And I found that to be very interesting when I remember in the Mahabharata, that great story of Draupadi. She was being insulted in the palace in front of all these kings and all these kingsmen and all this group of people in the palace. And when Dushasana, one of these evil kings, tried to disrobe her, and out of fear and many other reasons, nobody came to her side to protect her and to stand by her. And she called for, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, and she called out all these names of Krishna. And when she called out those names for Krishna, and Krishna was at that time in Dwarka, so he transformed himself in unlimited saris and provided her covering to make sure that she would not be in any way uncovered. Her chastity would not be taken away by this evil king. And it is explained in that place that Krishna came there because she called for him, and he was so grateful to her that he could not resist not being there, that his level of gratitude is so pure and it's so deep that even if we just once call the name of the divine in calling Krishna, then he shows up in ways that we cannot even imagine.
That's beautiful.
That's what I was meditating on, that he is way more grateful because our gratitude is covered by, in the material world, gratitude only comes to the level of goodness. And it's in its most purest form. But then in a lower form, that gratitude is covered by this dense emotions of, passion and ignorance. And gratitude is very difficult to see in those other three modes. But here, Krishna, the personification of gratitude, is there personified to make sure that she is showing his gratitude for her because she called him. And I was just thinking, wow.
I love how you flipped that and showed Krishna's gratitude. It's such we never think about that. We say, well, you should be filled with grateful. God does so much for you. But when you're in love, when there's a loving relationship, it's not just like you are loving a thing. It's like there's reciprocation. And the very idea of who Krishna is he's a loving force. Therefore, he's got, and because we're in so much Maya, so much illusion, so lost, he actually loves us more than you could even imagine. He loves us. I use the analogy like a teenager. Suppose there's a mother who's got into some arguments with her 15-year-old daughter. And the 15-year-old daughter, she yells and she does bad in school and she starts smoking cigarettes and, she's just having a hard time in school and she's coming home from school late. She's not listening to her mother. She does come home. She slams the door on her mother. Her mother tries to argue with her. Her mother tries to be calm and collective. The mother tries to give. The mother tries to like ground her and take away. She doesn't know how to deal with this kid anymore. And then even all the, no matter what she tries, the kid is just reckless. And all of a sudden, the kid decides, I'm not going to come home tonight. The mother is losing her mind. The mother's horrified. Where's my daughter? She comes home the night later. Where were you? The kid doesn't respond. Then the following week, the child runs away from home. Now, even if that mother has 5 other kids that are all getting straight A's, that mother will never sleep because that one kid is out. And suppose that child, yeah, a lot of us have been there. A lot of us have been that kid, if not the parent. But suppose that kid is somewhere in Tijuana, drunk out of their mind, sleeping in the street, and they get some little bit of sense in their head. They pick up the phone and they call their mom. Hey, mom, I made some stupid choices. I want to come home. The question is, Beta Sarah, what would a good mother say if that child called, right?
Yeah.
The good mother would be like, where are you? What do you need? And I know my mother. My mother would be on the first plane to Tijuana, my Italian mother, with a big bowl of pasta and a return ticket for me. Because the mother wants you back more than you want to be back. Krishna wants us back more than our own devotional determination. Krishna's not just sitting there indifferent. Krishna's madly in love with you, and he's sitting by the phone waiting for your call. And how do you call Krishna? Shravadam Kirtam Vishnu Smarnam. You call him with the holy name. You call him like we're doing now. We are sacrificing an hour of our life to talk about reconnecting with Krishna. Right? We're singing in kirtan. That's another way to reconnect. We're remembering Krishna. So there's so many different ways to reconnect, and Krishna is eagerly awaiting. You can't say this anymore because people don't sit by their phone. But in the old days, we used to sit by the phone, waiting for my girlfriend to call me. Will she call me? I don't know. Maybe she doesn't like me. Krishna's eager, more eager than we are. So you can understand the macro from these micro scenarios of our own life, but it's much more vibrant. What do you think of that analogy?
I love it. On a more practical, tangible, day-to-day life level, I was just thinking how gratitude actually it's very deep. It deepens all relationships. So what do you think about that angle to gratitude? Because gratitude means the divine in itself. And so whenever we add the divine component to all our exchanges in our lives with everyone in our lives, then all those relationships, they have a tendency to grow deeper and stronger and more vibrant. What do you think about that possible angle of gratitude?
In relationships with a lover, a partner, a spouse, for sure. But you can see it also again in you can see the micro and the macro. For example, teenagers. When I'm going to just dwell on teenagers because I have 5 children, and it's a natural part of being a teenager is to find your own space in the world. And so a teenager at a certain point leaves the house, or when they're a little bit older, they leave the household. And then they've always been dependent on the parent. Therefore, the parent has always loved. A good parent will always love. But the teenager, when they go on their own, now they have the privilege to reciprocate that love or be aloof to their parent. And sometimes teenagers do that. They're just like, well, whatever, my stupid parent. And they don't necessarily reciprocate. A sign of growing up for a child is when they learn to appreciate what the parent has done instead of meditating on what the parent has done wrong. Some people do that, and it's a big part of our human growth is to appreciate what we've been given. And when they do that, there can be love again. Without that, love becomes just one-sided. The parent is always giving love. They have to, because the child doesn't. Children by nature will be selfish. That's just part of being child. Part of growth is to reciprocate love. So our same thing, our relationship with Krishna is the same way. We're left on this world a little bit selfish. As we develop gratitude, we start to develop connection with divinity, and we start to appreciate everything we have. That by nature comes in back to our own realm, where we start to appreciate all the people in our life, all they've done for us. You know, one practice I have with my partner is in the morning we just take time to just share about one thing back and forth about why we appreciate each other. And it's love comes from appreciation. Sometimes when we're in puppy love or romantic love, we fall in love with people. Sometimes people are not even good for us. And people, even people that really care about us, like maybe our parents will say, what are you thinking? You love him? He's crazy. Oh no, you don't know. He's the best. He does A, B, C, and D. That's what romantic love is. You see only their good qualities. So as we mature in love, we see healthy, good qualities of the other person, and we remind them of it. As we remind them of it, that translates into a type of deep appreciation. Without appreciation, there can't be lasting love. So appreciation, especially in a spousal relationship or a partnership or a romantic relationship, that's a foundation. Or even if I have appreciation, but I don't vocalize it, that becomes interpreted as no appreciation. This person doesn't appreciate me. And I think it's a great meditation for everybody out there today. Think about the people in your life that would do anything for you, that would drop everything. If you said, I'm struggling real bad, can you come here? Hopefully you have 1, 2, or 3 people like that who would do that for you. So my next question is, do you let these people know how much you appreciate them on a regular basis? If not, it's worth a text message either immediately or after this class or a phone call, because these are important people. We should never take the people that love us for granted, because we're not getting that much love in this world from the universe or from individuals. So appreciate the love that you do get, and then all of a sudden you'll find that love, it works sort of like compound interest. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger to the degree that you love. Sometimes people say they want love in their life, but they themselves aren't ready to love. Anyway, what do you think about all that? I'm just dumping this stuff on you today.
No, love it. Love it.
Mm.
This whole the whole principles of appreciation, to me, my personal spiritual journey is such that every day I'm able to motivate myself because I am so grateful for everything that I have. Like every single day that I wake up in the morning, I chant the beautiful mantra of Karagre Vasate Lakshmi, and seeing Krishna, Govinda, Lakshmi, Saraswati in my palms, and chanting these mantras, just practicing this daily gratitude and to Mother Earth, and then and starting my day. I feel that if I wake up with this mood of gratitude, then I'm able to motivate myself every single day. And when I don't have that feeling of gratitude and appreciation for everyone and everything in my life, then I feel like maybe I should sleep in a little bit more. Maybe I could be a little lazy. Why can't someone else do it? So I personally think I love this exercise that you just suggested, to appreciate someone every single day, and especially the ones that are near and dear to you, and just let them know how much you appreciate them. So this relationship, as I always feel, that gratitude, if it's in its original form, it's a direct quality of Krishna, then that means Krishna becomes the glue between two people. And what better glue to have to connect two people and having the divine in between us? Because then that relationship is truly a spiritual relationship, even though we're living in the material world.
Yeah.
So what you
You
are
know,
saying is,
yeah.
is
Sorry.
profound.
We say that real love in this world is love with a small L. Even the most special person, we invest our love in these people, but the people themselves are not meant to fill our God-shaped hole in our hearts. The only thing that will actually satisfy our love, we have too much love to give to just a person. Our love is meant to be reposed in God. And so a real love is a spiritual love that we have with our partners. And it's not like you be my God and I'll be your God. You'll always be left short. You'll always be left, well, you didn't fulfill all my desires. You didn't fulfill all my desires. So we say that real love in this world is holding hands, walking each other towards the divine. So yeah, as Krishna or your higher power, that's the glue that keeps us together. That's the glue that makes these relationships last. Even your best partner. I know my parents were married for a very long time, and they had a loving relationship. They had 7 kids. They're both really responsible parents. But my father died untimely. Now, fortunately, my mom is a little spiritual, but still, when to be our God, well, they're either going to die, I'm going to die, they're going to leave me, I'm going to leave them. They're not going to fulfill my desires. But if you have a spiritual relationship, then even though you love the person and you'll miss the person, that person has not become your God. There's still, you'll appreciate everything they've given you and led you towards on your path. It's very, very like refined philosophy we have. I'm really appreciating it as I'm getting older. You and I got into this when we were young. You were very young. I was like 22 when I moved into an ashram. But as I'm getting older now, I'm 57 this year, and I've gone through all these different seasons of life. This stuff has become so much more alive and relevant and useful from this vantage point of being, north of 50, just south of 60. It's been better than ever, and it's really helped me as I've gone through these different changes of my duties in this world.
Someone just texted me saying that we want to see Raghunath Prabhu driving and talking. You don't have to look at us. I don't know why.
I'm sorry. They don't want to see me?
They said they want to see you so they know who you are, even though you're driving. It doesn't matter. As long as you don't look at the screen, you just look at the road as you talk to us.
Oh, I thought my camera was on. I'm so sorry. Now I got to figure out how to do this.
And then they also have a question.
Sure.
The question is, tell us of a time where you felt the deepest gratitude in your heart, where you were completely overwhelmed with that emotion. We still can't see you, by the way, if you think we can.
I know, you use my iPhone and drive. And you were seeing it. I have to figure out how to get my the camera thing on. I just can't look and figure this out while I'm driving, sadly.
Please, safety is more important. Go ahead. So please.
Okay, I apologize, guys.
Share with us about your.
Okay, most gratitude. I think the most grateful times is there's times when you see magic happen in your life, where you feel like you're in a flow of life. And truthfully, this is going to sound crazy because sometimes people are expecting perhaps the obvious. What's the
Raghu, we just lost you, bro. You said something obvious and then we lost you. Raghu, you there? I think he's driving through a dead spot. So I'll tell you a small story of Raghu. He said, Beta, you need to come over to New York to he lives in a farm in upstate New York. It's called the Super Soul Farm. And he holds a lot of retreats there and trainings, and he gets different people that almost every other weekend there's somebody there doing some event, spiritual events. So I went to see him there, and at that time he was going through some struggles and tough struggles. And he was just talking to me about how he was so grateful for all his struggles. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? It was just I think he was going through his divorce at that time. It was the mother of his 5 kids. And they've been together for a while, and he was going through it all. And he was just sharing how grateful he is to the fact that there were people around in his life that he felt he didn't deserve, and somehow they showed up to be there for him, to make sure that that he wasn't alone, and that whatever he was going through, there was a whole spiritual angle, and that he was able to see the divine hand in his personal struggles that was going on. Raghu, you there? Okay, I think so I just remember having a long discussion around this topic. He was just saying how, Veda, if I'm just grateful and just count my blessings every day, I'm good. And in his retreats that he does, he takes people to India every year. And one of the exercises that he makes everybody do is to count their blessings every single day. That everyone must count their blessings. Personally, I feel one of the things that we do in our communities around the world is we use this practice of gratitude as a means, as a process, as a tool to deal with difficulties and wounds in our life. The most injuries that we have, emotional injuries that we have in our lives, they are because life brings you injuries. It's just the nature of life. If you live in this world, you're bound to have injuries and hurts and pains and aches. And as children, we go through a lot of difficulties that we don't have the intelligence to fully understand why things have happened to them. And so this process of practicing gratitude every single day, even to the person that has caused us the most severe pain and suffering, then through this practice of gratitude, what happens, you're able to heal all those wounds, those scars that you've been carrying for years. So it's a very powerful tool that the yoga texts really, really talk about every single day. The person that hurt you the most, I know for me, I have had a picture of a teacher that had hurt me. And I had a picture of that teacher framed, put on my altar, and I would worship that person. And I would try to figure out ways to find things and qualities that I was grateful for. Now, I don't recommend all of you take pictures of your abusers and put them on the altar and worship them, but it's something that I have done to practice this gratitude. I take it to a whole nother extreme to make sure that I do not hold any grudge towards anybody in my life, so thereby I can live a life of freedom. Welcome back, Raghunath Prabhu.
Haribo, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Haribo, I don't know how much you
We were
heard.
we were talking behind your back.
I I I, I got cut off, but I don't. But I was talking for a while. I don't know what you've heard and what you didn't hear.
We heard everything till you got cut off, and who knows when did he get cut off. Everyone was so absorbed, and then when you left us, I just carried on talking about my experience of you sharing your gratitude with me about your struggles and your, the mother of your kids, and how grateful you are that you are surrounded by loving, compassionate friends and supporters. But I see God in all of that, which is like the most difficult time in life, relationships.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And you are able to still be so grateful to her.
yeah. It's easy to be bitter. It's easy to be bitter. Matter of fact, it seems like the default wants to go to the famous mantra, "Why me?" And those send up red flags. Oh, but Prabhu, how much did you hear of my story?
Hey, Shivi, did you pay? I was paying attention, but I don't know where you left off.
Did you get to
I
me?
don't think we heard any of it. I think you were talking about what you're grateful for, but we didn't hear any of it, I don't think.
Oh my God. You missed a great story. Wow. So you didn't hear anything about me being attacked?
No, please tell us.
Okay. Sorry about this. And I still cannot figure out how to turn on this camera. So I did a performance when I was a monk with my band, and it was a big performance. And then I'm not going to tell the whole story. I tell the story on the Joe Rogan podcast when I was on it in greater detail. But I was attacked by a gang with baseball bats for no good reason. And it was tragic. And I was hit repeatedly in the head with a baseball bat. Now, I've met a lot of spiritual people. I've done a lot of spiritual things, and I've been to holy places. You were asking me for my greatest gratitude. People expect me to say something like, "Well, I had a baby, and that was a spiritual thing," and that's true also. But the most grateful thing I ever had in my life was this tragedy, and I'll explain. As I was getting hit, I started almost having a separation from my body, as if I was witnessing myself being pummeled. And every time I was hit, I was calling out a name of Krishna. Krishna, Ram, Govinda, Chaitanya. And I started thinking to myself while I was being abused, man, I'm about to die. I'm being hit by a baseball bat, but I'm calling Krishna's name. This is like the perfection of my life. And I started thinking of all the stories and the histories of India where people called out the name for God. And, like grandfather Bhishma or Ajamil. And all of a sudden they were saved because Krishna came for them and he liberated them from this body and from whatever they were going through. And I think, I can't believe getting liberated now. This is the perfection of my life. And I prayed to Krishna, take me now, Krishna, while I'm sober, while I'm thoughtful, while I'm bright-eyed. Take me now, I can call your name. Are you hearing the story?
Yes, we are all with you. We are all with you.
And so, so the thing is, even when you add Krishna or spirit or God to your life, even the tragedies, on paper, it was a tragedy. But for me, it was the most spiritual, grateful lesson of my entire life. I wouldn't want it back. I wouldn't call it back ever. But I'm so grateful that happened. It gave me more faith in what we do than any experience I ever had.
Yeah, that's pretty deep, that only when you go through the worst situation in your life and you're able to finally, they have to almost beat you down to get you to fully surrender, right?
Yeah, right. Well, especially because, we just played a performance. It was really good. They paid us well. People gave us a lot of accolades and validation, all the things that the material mind wants, or the ego wants. But when you really boil it down to, you can die in a moment. What good is all these things? Your life is so temporary. Don't forget why you're here, what you're doing, where your real connection is. And and what we're doing with our regular practice, what we're doing today, listening to class, and if we have a meditation practice or a japa practice, what we're doing is we're practicing to be God conscious at the most tragic times, and it pays off. It paid off. So you asked me about gratitude. That was the most grateful situation I ever have, because I really feel like I'm not very qualified, but I was actually taken care of when I needed to be taken care of the most.
Sometimes I remember when I first met you, your guru, your teacher, took me to one of your shows in New York, somewhere, and we walked into the stadium, and you were there on the stage with all this thousands of people dancing and just going crazy, and you were on the stage with your band dancing and screaming like crazy, and I didn't understand a word you were saying. What kind of music is this? And I couldn't understand. But somehow all these thousands of kids were admiring you and appreciating you and trying to touch you and trying to just, they were just all over you. And in that environment, when you live in that environment, continuously being admired and appreciated by these people, how do you find time to get back into that space of appreciation and gratitude? I'm curious, because a lot of the people I know that I hear about that become very successful are some of the most ungrateful people in the world. And here you are, one of the most successful Vaishnavas that I know, and yet you remain such deeply humble and grateful. What is your secret?
Anyway, you're super, super kind for saying that. I think it's important to meditate on the teachers in our life. This whole idea of appreciation and gratitude is like woven into everything that we do. We wake up in the morning when you live in the ashram and you sing songs appreciating your teachers and the lineage of teachers. And the reason is why? Because we got what we got by the mercy of somebody else. We didn't get it just due to our own accord. There's been people who've loved us, cared for us, nurtured us, tolerated our nonsense to give us something valuable. And people may say, well, no, I got what I got because I worked hard for it. Well, okay, you had some endeavor, but there's people who've employed you, who have educated you, who've loved you. And really, when we start to appreciate that, there's no room for my arrogance. There's no room for an ego. And in our spiritual path, we just see ourselves as, we got something. We got some charisma. We got some charm. We've got some ability. We've got some talent. But what good is that if it's just used for my ego? I'm a singer. I'm a public speaker. I'm a storyteller. But if I didn't have a spiritual path, I would just use that to manipulate people, to have girls think I'm cool or guys think I'm cool. So we give our thanks to our teachers, not because they taught me how to be a public speaker or taught me some charm. Maybe I was born with stuff, but they taught me how to engage that stuff in ways that will not bind me anymore, not complicate my life anymore, ways to liberate me. Use that same stuff to liberate me. That's the gift of guru. The guru's given us stuff that's given us a path to free ourselves with that very same stuff that was ruining our life. Some people can have talent, but they ruin their life with their talent because it's all about their ego and their competition, and it becomes horrible. What do you think about that?
That's beautiful. I love it.
I think I had to work my camera.
There we go.
It just took the entire show.
We just need the Santa Claus, the hair up top, and you'd be perfect.
Thank you.
All the wisdom. So how do you teach gratitude to your kids, Prabhu? Because kids can be such, like, my God, they just want, and they're just so ungrateful. And
Unbelievable.
I feel like we also have those similar qualities like kids. We're just like, we never have enough. Just give us more. And we just work for more and more and more and just keep going.
What I've noticed with 5 kids is that some kids are naturally grateful. When we say naturally within the yoga system, nature isn't natural. You cultivate things. And you're saying, well, no, they're 5 years old. They're not cultivating it. They're just, they're little kids. No. We're practicing this stuff for lifetimes. People practice everything for lifetimes. They practice yoga. They practice addiction. They practice openness, open-heartedness. They practice music. If you see a child that has a proclivity towards music, most likely they've been practicing it for lifetimes. That's what we call a child prodigy. A child prodigy doesn't mean anything to an American scientist. They call them like freaks. Child prodigies aren't freaks. They're people who have been practicing for lifetimes, and now they're reaping the fruit of their practice. What we have with gratitude, I've noticed that some of my kids were born very grateful, and some of my kids were born very entitled. And all we can do as parents is help them on their path. So obvious things like, hey, mom cooked you dinner. Wasn't that nice of mom? Let's all thank mom, right? Or, we truthfully, when the children were little, we'd start our meals with, what are we grateful for today? And then, and for like, some people are, some of the kids are like, oh, brother. But eventually, that's just the rule. Before we eat, we share what we're grateful for. And I think keeping that in mind in a household, it doesn't matter what religion you are or what culture you're from. Everybody can appreciate those shared values of appreciation and gratitude. It just makes life more joyful. What I've noticed, and this is just simple math, to the degree that you're grateful, you're happy. To the degree that you're entitled, you're sad. So this is the flip side, is entitlement. And the entitlement thinks everybody owes me everything. Nobody owes you anything. That's the reality. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody's going to necessarily make it right. You got what you got. And now what am I going to do with that? And the most evolved people I see in this world have come from real tough situations and flipped the script. People who really have, it's almost like they have the right to complain. They get a pass for forgiveness. But on a spiritual path, nobody gets that pass. The people have really flipped the script. They're so damn impressive because they've changed the story. The old narrative was, I've been so hurt. I've been so wrong. I gave so much. And now they're just like, this was meant to be. For my growth, I got this. For where I am today, I had to go through that. And it's quite impressive for those who've been through hell and now are lifting everybody else out of hell. You don't have to go to some planet and meet the devil to go to hell. There's hell right on this planet, and some of us have been there or living in it now. So wherever there's hell, there's also some heaven. And so for those who are turning towards light and love and truth, there's good news. It starts with a I have, and now what am I going to do with that? And there's what I call a pronoia as opposed to a paranoia. Instead of like everyone's working against me, it's the universe is working for me and my evolution. And that's a powerful state of mind. And what's my other option? To become bitter, to be sad. That's what entitlement gets me.
Love it.
Prabhu?
I love it. A lot of people are sharing, a lot of people are sharing in the chat that their questions they have had is being answered by this beautiful offerings that you're dishing out. So,
Prabhu, I had to get slapped around enough by the material energy, and instead of trying to fight the warden and shake my prison bars, I had to just choose. You know what? I'm not going to change the prison. I'm not going to change the warden, but I can change myself, and that's my responsibility.
I realized that my attraction for you and what you do and your success in this world, I always feel that my one quality that I admire and always remember you is how grateful you are to everyone and everything you have in life. And I feel like that's a strength that you have. And therefore, because this is such a powerful asset that you have, everything in your world and everyone in your life is just turns out to be people that are good people, because you are that person that always attracts and gives gratitude and attracts people who are grateful.
You sound pretty grateful yourself, right? What do you guys think about Beta Sar? Right? Grateful and gratitude and grace. Two very beautiful qualities. That's why I'm friends with you. I'm trying to learn stuff. I'm trying to pick up your good habits. They say whoever you hang out with, they start to rub off on you. I need some of what you got.
I'm your friend for the same
covered
reason.
in mud.
I'm trying to gain something from you.
All you're going to get from me is like various types of diseases and sicknesses.
If gratitude is a sickness, I'll take it. So, Raghunath Prabhu, I'm so thankful and extremely appreciative that, you know, you've risked your life, to get on a call during a drive and and share some of your realizations with us. And we have this community, we do this every Saturday. It's funny, we have people here from Connecticut, from Netherlands, from Georgia, from
Wow.
all over the place, Atlanta and Asheville. They just, yeah, it's just nice that this principle.
Oops. Somebody's unmuted.
That this practice of bhakti is so powerful that it can bring people and unite people from all different parts of the world, and in such a loving, kind, compassionate way. And I know you're doing it in a macro level. I mean, 10,000 people are listening to, on a daily basis, listening to your Srimad Bhagavatam, Wisdom of the Sages call every morning.
It's unbelievable. It's got nothing to do with me. It's got to do with the message.
Of course.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you. I think what you're doing is great, and want to figure out. I'm coming to Atlanta, so I'm looking forward to seeing you. If people want to stay connected with me, you can on Instagram, Raghunath Yogi, Raghunath Yogi, one word, Raghunath, and I pretty much use that as my platform to communicate. Or Raghunath.yoga is my website, Raghunath.yoga. And we have a farm upstate New York. Veda's been there, called Super Soul. And we have some great weekend classes, immersions if you want to break away. We're having some coming up this autumn, starting in September. And then I do a pilgrimage to India in October. And it's all on all stuff like that is on my website. And thank you very much for considering me.
Thank you.
And I hope I added something to your teachings. They're incredibly fortunate to have you. And I consider myself, your servant, and whatever you need, I'm at your service. You engage me as you like.
Raghunath Prabhu, I'm also your servant, and I'm ready to serve you anytime you need me. And I'm ready to serve you even when you don't need me. So please engage me in your service.
Okay, well, you can serve me by, I'm driving across America. Just give me a call whenever you want the next 2 days.
Perfect. I'll call you, Prabhu.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being so kind.
Thank you all very much for joining us. And thank you. And we'll see you next weekend on Saturday at 9 a.m.
Thank you. Forgive me if you thought you were getting Veda and you got stuck with me today, okay? Thank you guys very much. Haribol.
It's been wonderful. Thank you.
We enjoy it. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Namaste, everyone.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare
Bye-bye.
Krishna.